Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome to Touch Tell Stories Behind the Hood. I'm your host, Frank Vargas, aka Charlie Frankie. You guys know how this works. Someone sits there, I sit here, and we happen to have a conversation, and I'll post them somewhere. That somewhere is YouTube. Today, I'm in Yuma, Arizona, a place I've never been, but I'm excited to be here for a couple of reasons. Not only because I'm at a welding school, but also it's with Shanen Aranmor. Shanen, thank you so much for saying yes and taking time of your afternoon to sit here with me.
Thank you so much for joining us at Weld Like A Girl.
Cool, awesome. Now, where are we again? Just in case I said it wrong, and how far are we from the next major city? For those of you that have never heard Yuma before.
Okay, so Yuma, Arizona is about 15 minutes from the border of Mexico.
Okay.
We're 2.5 hours from San Diego.
Got it.
We're about 3.5 to 4 hours from Phoenix, depending on traffic.
Okay.
5 hours from Vegas and 5 hours from LA.
A lot more than what I wanted, but there you go. Now you guys know exactly where we are.
In the middle of everywhere. That's my point.
Well said. Well said. So Shanen, a couple of things. I love, and I'm going to give you guys a tour of the welding school later. You guys know how I do this. I'll just grab my camera and start walking around, and you guys get to see what I see. But before I start asking you where you come from, what's your background, why here, why this place, why Weld Like A Girl?
Okay, well, there's a couple of different answers there.
Okay.
Why Yuma, Arizona?
Yes.
So I was a college professor in Forest City, Iowa, which is not the middle of nowhere, but you can see it from there. And we're talking brutal winters. I mean, seriously, Frank, we're talking brutal winters. We're talking -17 with a -71 wind chill.
Wow.
Like, we're talking brutal winters. And there's nothing to stop the wind, so it just comes right through.
Gotcha.
And I slipped on the ice for the second year in a row, broke my tailbone, and was angry at being cold and broken. And so I went into my house and I yelled at the top of my lungs, "I am done!" And so the next day I went to work and I did an internet search for the sunniest place on earth where they speak English. Like, you know, basically.
Well, it's very close to that, probably, yeah.
So, but I mean, I meant, like, you know, I wanted to be like
of course.
in an English-speaking country.
Yeah.
And although I do speak French, but I wanted to make it a little bit easier. But I wanted the sunniest place on earth.
So literally the next day you Google,
Yes.
I'm like, all right, where am I going next?
And within about 4 months, I interviewed in a couple different places, and I took off from Mason City, Iowa. I almost didn't take off because they had to de-ice the plane twice.
Okay.
And it was -71 wind chill there. I got here, and by lunchtime it was 71. And I'm like, I think the universe is telling me something.
Just to make things, bring things into perspective, guys. So it was 70 something when she came. Right now it's like about 150. Just so you guys know. Yeah,
Not quite that bad.
Yeah, 110,
It's
104.
very humid here, and this is unusual for us.
I'm from Florida. I'm used to humidity, but this is just like 3 notches above what I'm used to.
We have triple digits with humidity, so that's what makes it unusual.
You're welcome, guys. You see what I do for you guys? Anyway.
That means I'm worth it. He made it all the way out here.
100%. You are right. So now tell me, where are you from? Were you actually born and raised there, or?
No, I moved a lot, but kind of between Pennsylvania, a little bit of East Coast, and then throughout the Midwest. And so kept moving west my whole life. You know, they said, go west, young lady, and I did.
All right.
And this is it, though. I don't want to go into California. This is good.
Yeah?
Yeah.
This is west enough?
This is west enough.
Got it. And how were you as a kid? What were you into?
What was it? Really into the outdoors.
Yeah.
I wanted to learn about mechanical things, but
why? Was it someone that you saw? You know, was
well, just I wanted to, like, you know, like people would be working on cars, and I'm like poking my head in, and it was interesting.
Get away from here, little girl.
Yeah, that's exactly what they said. And so I'm like, that's fine. I'll take my bike and I'll go get lost and I'll climb trees. And so very active in like outdoor stuff. I had required sports in high school, so I had to be on teams and do that sort of thing.
Gotcha. So when you are in high school and now you're kind of thinking you're a senior, college is around the corner, maybe not. What are you thinking? Do you already have an idea of what you wanted to be when you grew up?
Well, I thought I wanted to go to medical school.
Okay.
And I wound up actually turning that option down.
Once you saw how long it took?
No, I was in college and graduated from college, and the medical system was changing, and it was like the revolving door kind of.
Gotcha.
You know, like you would be with a patient for 10 minutes, and that's not who I am.
Got it.
So I really wanted more of a
relationship.
Like a human approach. So I graduated with my degree in biology, and it turns out, Frank, you can't get a job with a bachelor's degree in biology.
You know,
you can't.
that always sounds good. And every time I hear a younger person, a kid, like, I want to be a marine biologist, and it's like, you really are for the love of the game, because it's not about money you're after,
No.
right? So now you realize, well, this maybe is not going to pay the bill. This is not a real obtainable future, at least for you. So what do you start doing?
So I was told you could either teach high school biology, hard nope.
Yeah.
Go to medical school, which I already decided was
Correct.
not going to be the best option. So then the other option was work in big pharma. So
Okay.
for 2
So you were
years,
selling drugs? Is that what you're saying?
I wasn't selling anything,
Oh.
thank God. Thank God. No, because of my degree in biology, I worked in biostatistics and data management. Super boring.
I was going to say that sounds way too out of my league.
part-
So yeah.
The worst part is you are when you're on the research side of things, you see the ugly side of big pharma. And I wasn't okay with it. I was like, I don't want to sell my soul to the devil for the rest of my life.
Good
and
for
they said,
you.
you know, if you stay in this industry within a few more years, you'll be making $90,000. And that was a few years back. And I was like, yeah, I need to be able to go to sleep at night thinking like I've done a good thing. So I went to grad school and then became a college professor.
Good for
so
you.
I was in the field of wellness before welding. And
Starts
so,
with a W.
Yep.
Yep.
They would call the wrong department all the time, and so eventually I started taking classes over there. But I drank the Kool-Aid. I thought that when you're a college professor for long enough, you should become a college administrator. And so for
I see
the
that.
5 years that I did that, I wish. I'll say it this way: for the 5 years that I did that, I would have paid them $5,000 to not do it. Yeah.
But then again, you're excited that someone's looking at you, that someone is giving you a promotion,
Right,
and so
it
on,
did
so on,
look
right? Like, yay, I made
this
it.
is great, yeah.
Yeah.
It just was really not, the relationship piece was not there. The students were angry at faculty are angry at administrators, and administrators, because they have too much to do, are just angry.
And they're just answering to
Yeah.
the
and
system.
I didn't want to be angry. I didn't want to be surrounded by angry. I wanted to be in wellness. That's what I went in there for. So I eventually, when I got my welding degree,
But hold on, you got your welding degree.
at the school where I was an administrator.
Why? Out of so many other degrees, why welding?
Okay, good question. So when I was an administrator, they allowed me to teach only one class, and I love teaching. I love like sparking that interest in people and helping them. And they said, you can only teach one class. What will it be? And I said stress management, because I'm thinking I need to teach that class.
I need it.
Yes,
Yeah.
because I need that.
Yeah.
And so when I was in Iowa teaching stress management, I would try to find alternative ways to help students, because not every student can sit there cross-legged and be like, oh, you know. And some of them can relate to certain deep breathing, but they can't. The structured stuff doesn't always
Yeah,
work.
there's too many things going on. Yeah.
So in Iowa, I took beginning, intermediate, and advanced boxing, and I actually was a certified allowable boxer in Iowa. I never did, because I didn't want to break my nose again.
I can't make this up, guys.
Right?
Yep.
No, you can't. You cannot make this up.
Yep.
So I did, and my the instructor was also a professor at Waldorf College, and his nickname was Chappie. He hated that name, and so if he ever watches this, he's going to hate me. Sorry,
Chappie. It was given to you.
Yeah. He was kind of mad that I didn't compete.
Oh,
He was
really?
Like, well, I spent all this time getting you there, and I was like, bro, I never actually intended to punch someone in the face unless they deserve it. So, yeah. So anyway, so that
now,
was one of the-
because he was also in the welding program.
no, this was in Iowa. So
Oh, okay,
he was
okay.
a business professor.
Gotcha.
And so in Iowa, I did boxing, and then started in blacksmithing. And then when I came to Arizona, I continued in blacksmithing, and really took a lot of just took every semester took blacksmithing, because that was a good way to tell my students, hey, you could take this class, get credit for it, and hammer, and you put a piece of metal in a hot forge, and it comes out red hot, and everyone has hearing protection, and you can smack the crap out of that and say whatever you want, because no one can hear you.
Good approach.
Very, very, very good for stress
But
management.
even while you are doing blacksmithing and then you start teaching it or exposing others, at this moment you're still not thinking, this is the real future for me, this is
Correct.
what I'm going to end up doing.
This was just making me happy.
Gotcha. So happy wasn't still paying the bills.
No,
correct.
Right. So I was an administrator, and I kept taking the blacksmithing class over and over again because it was free. And then the professor came to us and said, I'm going to be leaving in December, and this was the fall semester, and so this class is going to go away. And I said, I'm not really okay with that, because no one else was going to teach it. No one else was
It was just
qualified
gonna
to teach
die,
it. And so I went to the head of the welding department, and I said, I'm a novice blacksmith. I've been taking blacksmithing for years, but it's the same class over and over again.
Yeah.
So I'm really good at that.
So I know how to
part.
make that one knife. After that,
I expand a little bit, but I'm really good at this. I said I'm a novice blacksmith, but I'm a really good teacher. So if you'd like, I will be your placeholder for next semester.
Okay, so you guys know I interrupt my guests.
That's
Calm
okay.
down, all right?
I grew up in an Italian kitchen. Like, come over, eat with food in your mouth. Talk with food in your mouth rather, and then interrupt. It's fine.
When you say, I know I was a good teacher, what makes you say that? And why do you think you are a good teacher?
Well, the teacher of the year.
Because I think I'm tall.
Okay, well, you are tall. It's just all relative, right?
Yeah, there you go.
Okay, so you are tall. I'm the tallest woman in my whole family by 6 inches.
Really?
I'm an Amazon. Okay?
Damn,
so
girl.
I am tall. And I'm probably not taller than other people, but, well, I've gotten different teaching awards, but I know that I was a born teacher because my sister is 4 years younger than me, and when I would learn multiplication tables in what is that, like 4th or 5th grade, she was in 1st grade or whatever. She's 4 years younger, so I'd be using the flashcards and I'd be holding them up. And
Gotcha.
So my sister could read full sentences by the time she was in kindergarten.
So you had the patience and also you had the empathy, because that's usually what it really takes to be a teacher.
Yes. Now there are people that have pushed that.
Of course. I mean, you wouldn't be human if they didn't, right? But that's the art of it. No, that's cool, and I wanted just to emphasize on that because we all have a thought of what we think of ourselves, right? But definitely, I see the why, especially now that I've known you for a bit now, and I get to see the school. So that's awesome. So now you are taking on the program. I guess they said, sure, yeah. I guess let's not let it die. It's yours.
And it was only one class, but the head of the department said, he looked at me, and he said, "I'll take a chance on you. But you have to take a welding class so that the students in welding don't have a vocabulary that you don't understand," which I thought was genius.
That was a very good point. I like that.
And so that next semester, the only class that was open was kind of like a welding survey class, because our classes at this community college would fill like in 24 hours.
Gotcha.
And so there was nothing open. So the only thing was like a kind of a recreational type of class. It was called welding sculpture, but it wasn't necessarily, you didn't have to necessarily be a sculptor or an artist. It was an introduction.
Yeah.
And I found out that I was decent at certain things, but I really sucked at oxy-fuel welding.
Really?
And I am a quarter Irish, as you can tell by the last name.
Yep.
And it wasn't going to win.
That is true.
The next semester,
Fortune fire,
Yep. So I went. I did not have to take another class, but the next semester I took oxy-fuel welding and cutting. And it was the week of drop ad, and I went to the professor and I said, I don't really want to get an F on my transcript. I've graduate school, I've got really good grades in grad school and stuff, and I don't really want to get an F. And he gave me a piece of advice that it resonated then, and every week I tell it to another student. And that piece of advice is, just when you are ready to give up, you are about 1 week away from a breakthrough.
That is so true.
It really is.
Yeah.
So, and I was like, oh man, he is smoking something. I don't
you don't get it. Yeah.
I'm terrible at this, right? And so I went in for open lab, and there was a young man in there who was just about to graduate, and he had taken my rock climbing class that I taught because I was, in the field of wellness,
right.
And then my marriage and family class. He was currently in that class, and I almost said his name. It'd be embarrassing. Well, I won't say his last name. Steve.
Yeah.
I said Steve.
Yeah. You know who you are.
What's exactly?
Yep.
I go, what is your advice? Because I'm not getting this. I just can't. I can't figure it out. He said, you're going too fast, and you have to find your song.
Okay.
And I said, Steve, I call bullshit.
Yeah.
You know I have to give you a grade this semester on marriage and family, right? And he said, no, I'm not kidding. Okay. So I go in the next night for open lab, and there is a song blasting in the shop. And I went, that's your song? It was the Carpenters.
Oh my Lord!
Right?
So that was his song.
That was his song. Okay, so it was the Carpenters. Karen Carpenter with her really melodic voice and everything, and I was like, okay, well.
Hey, whatever gets you in the mood.
And he didn't know that I was going to come in, so this wasn't a setup.
Yeah, right.
So, I stuck with it, and I just kept practicing, and then the next week we were past drop out. I'm like, all right, I'm just going to have to do this. I went into class, and finally, it hit me. And I saw the puddle, and I realized how slow I had to go, and all of a sudden I was so excited. I was like a little kid.
So you were doing what, TIG?
This was oxy-fuel.
So you were still doing gas welding.
Yeah, this was that semester.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, okay, we're past drop ad. You got to suck it up, Buttercup, and you do this. So So I was so excited, I was like a little kid. I grabbed the plate and I ran over to the instructor. I'm like, look! And from that day forward, he called me welder, which I really appreciate it.
You know, it's so amazing for many things. Not only because you got validation, right? You know, now like, hey, I guess I belong here. I guess I can do this. But also it's to see someone start with the oxy-fuel, with the gas welding, especially you being a woman. You know, in today's world, we know the technology, MIG, TIG, stick, you name it, and so needed. We get the why. But to have someone start on oxy-fuel and gas welding and really understand the concept of fire, open flame, and all that, it really is just a great base to start from. So I always applaud that.
Well, so it was interesting for me because that survey class that I had taken first was like, you know, a couple weeks of MIG. We didn't do TIG, but a couple weeks of stick, a couple weeks of this. So we dabbled.
Gotcha.
But this was the first real class that I took, and the fire thing was fascinating and terrifying at the same time.
Yeah.
But really, the most important piece, I think, Frank, was day one. The most important piece. There was a student in that class who had an offensive T-shirt on.
Okay.
And the instructor said, I didn't say a word. I just figured, I go, oh, okay,
it's
great.
Yeah.
Here's one of those classes. I'm going to be the only chick,
Yep.
and they're going to be like making fun of me, and they're going to be talking down to me, and I just assumed. I'm like, okay, this is the way it's going to be, and just, you know, I'm tougher than that. And the instructor looked at him and said, you have three choices. It had nothing to do with me. He goes, you have three choices. You can go home. You can walk out that door, and you can go home and change your T-shirt. You could walk out that door and stay home. Or you can walk out that door and go to the bathroom and change your T-shirt so you don't waste too much time. But it's your choice. But we do not allow racial or sexual or any kind of, like, there's no discrimination allowed.
Gotcha.
And when he said that, I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing.
Someone
like,
that gets it, yeah.
First class I've ever been in where it's predominantly men. And I didn't feel like I had to.
And someone understands.
Well,
So what was
he
that
has
kid's?
daughters. He has a wife, and
What did he do?
he went outside and he changed his shirt and he came back in.
All right.
And I wound up being partnered up with him one day, and it was interesting. And it was very tiny little booths, and I gave him a little shit, and that's fine.
Good. You know, and sometimes, you know, I've always find that sometimes people just need to be told or at least made aware of certain things, because you could be a dumbass your whole life and you never had a very close friend that said, dude, you're a dumbass, get yours together, right? But so I'm glad the teacher...
A good friend would tell you you're a dumbass. That's what Frank's saying.
It's my show. I'll do whatever. So no, that's awesome. So now you are taking the class. Now you got validation from the teachers. Like, hey, you're a welder. What came next?
I didn't need the degree. I didn't plan on the degree. I just kept taking more and more classes.
Okay.
I just kept taking classes because it was interesting.
Yep.
I'd already obviously done gen eds. I didn't have to go take math and English and other things that the other students in the department did. And a game changer for me was Skills USA.
So, in what sense? You competed in Skills USA, or you just went and participated?
I dodged the bullet so many times. He kept asking me, "Would you do this?" I'm taking classes part time, right? Because I'm still working.
Gotcha.
And so he said, "Would you be on the fabrication team?" And I said, "Hard no." And the next semester, "Would you be on the fabrication team?" I said, "Hard no." So the next semester,
because you were shy, because you didn't think you were good enough, because you were a girl, because like why?
Because all of those things, right?
Okay.
It's a team of three.
I know.
I didn't grow up with power tools. I didn't grow up.
Gotcha.
The only thing I knew about what I knew in welding was what I learned in that program.
Yep.
I mean, I had drills and like other tools in my house, but like I didn't know how to use a bandsaw. Oh, and then in the machine tool class, he tells us this machine right here is powerful enough to cut a frozen cow in half.
Yeah.
Hard
Thanks.
nope. Hard nope.
Yep.
I'm using this thing like way back here with the pusher.
With a stick.
Yeah. I'm like, I don't want to do this, right? So I kept saying no to the fab team, and I did okay in the individual, and I was, I didn't win first place, but I was doing well in the individual contest, but the fabrication team, I was like, oh, it's too terrifying. So I one semester I agreed to be the alternate to the alternate. I thought that was really safe.
I'm
like supporting you.
3 tiers away from.
Yeah. I'm a team player.
Yeah, I said yes, kind of.
Sure.
Yeah.
The next day I was the alternate. Within 2 weeks I was on the team. 2 weeks later we had the regional contest. We won. 2 months later, whatever that was, 2 months later we won at state, and then we went to nationals. And now I'm terrified, excited, but terrified. And my two teammates were clearly not excited about having a woman on the team. One of them would hand me a grinder every time I would show up. And finally, we were like hardcore practicing the month before.
Yeah.
And about a week in, and I was like, look, I am not your grinder girl. Like, this is not the way this is going to be. And so the one person was very tall and not communicative, and then the other person was shorter with red curly hair, very like fiery. You
Gotcha. Goes with the hair.
It was a challenge. And so I show up one day, and they said, we have decided that this other person on the team, the tall person, we've decided that he's better at oxy-fuel cutting than you. And I said, okay. We usually implies a team, but okay.
You mean you too?
Because but I've also, grown-ass woman with a job. Like you do you if this is what you need to do. And so I stepped back. And Frank, I'm not going to lie. It was an 8-hour practice. Well, it was a full-day practice. The person that cut 1 inch short on every single piece, I let him do it. I watched him measure. I watched him cut everything wrong. And
so he would measure here and cut right at,
You know what? You're so much better at this than I am, so I'm going to let you do that. So when they realized it, it added 2 hours onto our time.
Right.
Well, it's a timed contest at Skills when you're practicing. So then the next day, everything was kind of settled. I was back to doing what I was doing before. But they needed to learn that.
Sometimes people have to learn and get humble.
Yes.
That's all it is.
I didn't have to say a word.
I'm going to have to bring you back down to earth. So now you run Skills and you're like, whoa, I guess I have a place in this industry. Now it's another validation that you get, on you. So the teacher pushed you. Finally, you got there. Now that you feel so good about yourself, what are you thinking of doing in the welding industry?
So when we got back from Skills, that was a life changer. Going to nationals, we didn't podium, but I know why, and like it's good.
You get the why.
Yeah, it's totally fine. Our skills were good; they were solid.
Yeah.
I came back, and there was a person who was very kind of machismo, very hot-headed.
Yeah.
And he was in the shop when I walked back in, and he was having trouble with the machine, and he said, hey, Shanen, can you fix this? And I listened and I went, I can. I can totally troubleshoot that machine and I know how to fix it. I'm like, okay. So I went to the head of the welding department and I said, all right, you win. I'm going to get the degree. Yeah. And I want to work for the best damn welding manufacturer in the country. And he said, all right, well, you need to teach for me for a bit and you need some fabrication skills. And so for 2 years I was doing that. And lo and behold, I chose Miller because our representative from Miller, Chuck Tabor, was amazing.
Gotcha.
He was such a cool dude. It was a treat when he would come from LA area to come and show us pipeworks or some cool machine. And he was just so humble and so awesome that I was like, I want to hang out with awesome people like that.
So when you say that you went and got a degree, what degree are we talking about?
So I got my associates in welding technology and then also my associates in industrial technology. So added on, like after grad school, I went back for an associate's.
So were you already having the conversations with the Miller guys that, hey, by the way, coming soon to a theater near you, me?
Right. Well, I mean, they knew after a while, like I needed to get my feet underneath me. And so Chuck put in a good word, and I stressed out the local. No, he wasn't the DM. He was the head of all of the salespeople.
Okay.
He came over from Phoenix and met me at Olive Garden for lunch. And I didn't know what to wear, so I was like, do I wear a polo? Do I wear a suit? I have no idea. So I wore a skirt, and it totally stressed him out. He told me later on, he was like, I never interviewed anyone in a skirt before, and it was a long skirt. It wasn't like trying to be it wasn't like a mini skirt or anything. I was just like, I just wanted to look professional. Yeah. But I was like, I don't know what to wear.
I'm also still a woman. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And so he was like, the dude didn't wear socks. Okay, that just tells you something. But just saying. But the guys that don't wear socks. But
got it. Okay.
So, but anyway, I stressed him out. I found out later on, and then when I went up months later, when I went up for my interview at Miller, they were like, "Who are you? Like, why do you want to do this?" I'm like, "Dude, I love welding so much. Like, I can't even tell you. I love welding so much, and I love teaching, and I want to be a trainer for you."
Yeah.
And like, we want you to be a trainer. We don't have a training spot right now, but we're going to hire you before our competition does. So
that's such a nice compliment.
It was.
So what did you do for them?
I started off as it's called a welding trainer specialist, but basically I helped develop the backside of LiveArc, which is their live and virtual welding. But then as soon as possible, transitioned into the welding. In the training department, and so I was the Western Regional Trainer.
Western meaning what area were you handling?
Denver and West.
Okay.
Edmonton, Canada, A, and South.
A. And is that why you speak French?
No, I lived for 1 year in college in Dijon, France.
Oh, okay, cool. So now, how long were you with Miller?
6 years.
And what happened there? How come you're not with Miller anymore?
So it was supposed to be 50% travel, and it was closer to 100%, which I loved. I can tell you, I literally, when someone's like, oh, that's not going to fit in your suitcase, I'm like, yeah.
Watch this.
Yeah, move over, I got you. Or they're like trying to jam something in a suitcase, I'm like, sister, it's not happening. I'm going to make it. I'm like, no, I promise you, like, I really know what's going to fit in a suitcase. I did this for every single week for 5 of my years with Miller. And so, almost every week. So, unfortunately, I had 2 deaths in my family within 13 months. Both of them were extremely important people in my lives.
Gotcha.
The first one was very unexpected. The second one, he was older. But when that second death happened, I looked at my husband and I said, I think I'm done. He said, I know. Because if I hadn't been traveling all that time, I would have had more time with them.
Of
and
course.
you don't realize until it's too late.
You take it for granted, yeah.
Exactly. And so I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do, but like, I gave them 5 weeks notice because we had a 3-week vacation. I saved up all my vacation. We were going to go to New Zealand. And so I gave them 5 weeks notice, which was more than fair, I thought, because I had a huge territory. I had 9 sites that I covered. And I was also the liaison to the Sheet Metal Workers Union, which I did totally miss them because they were so cool. North Las Vegas, all the guys from the Sheet Metal Workers, the ITI, would come in and I'd like hang with people from all over the country.
That is cool.
I like that a lot. But anyway, we went to New Zealand. And we were on this hike, and the guide was like, "What do you think you're going to do next?" I'm like, I'm not really sure, but I feel like I've got some things that I'm ready to do. And he said, "What's the first thing that comes to your mind?" And I said, "The very first day that the T-shirt class, right? The first day of my second course. I went at the end of that day, I went up to the instructor and I'm like, oh my God, this would be so cool to do like women's empowerment workshops and my background in mental health and wellness and physical education and everything. So, and he didn't pat me on the head, but he was like, dude, I don't have time for this. And so I was like, that's always been since the first day. And
so at least he asked the question that really made you...
Right.
Okay, yeah, that is what really sparked that energy,
Yep, so Dan in New Zealand, as we're hiking along, I was starting to plan it. And we went back to, I don't know if it was a tent or a hotel that night, but anyway, started writing stuff down and we ruled everything in and talked about, my husband and I talked about like, how much will it cost to do this and what do we have to do? And initially I really wanted to do a mobile unit. That was my dream.
Gotcha.
And
so you can just kind of travel and then hit every neighborhood and whatever.
Stay in the white.
Yeah, right. Running away from. Got it.
In the winter, we're in the southern states, and in the summer, we're in the north.
Literally a snowbird.
Yes, exactly. We're just traveling.
That's it.
But looking back, I'm really grateful that didn't work out because COVID, and then we wouldn't have had a space. So really early on, I learned, even though like the name is Weld Like A Girl because I am a girl, and I want girls and women to come in and feel safe.
So how long did it take you to, of course it makes sense, the name makes sense, but how long did it take you to come up with a name and really just say, that's it, that's the one?
April 4th, 2017, I was sitting in my sister's apartment in her condo or whatever in San Diego, and I already knew what I was going to do. And so we did trademark searches for all the cool names that we could come up with, and we did not find a trademark on Weld Like A Girl.
We actually sounds so crazy that a name so cool
was not trademarked.
Right?
So I trademarked the name right away, and I trademarked the logo because Rosie the Riveter is not trademarked. And so my logo is I know, right? So my logo is a caricature of me as Rosie. And so,
really? So that's not trademarked either?
Not trademarked. I followed all the rules. You have no idea. Like, I don't want to get sued. So, so this is already like, I'm stepping off a cliff. I'm leaving a major corporation with like great
all
benefits. Right, exactly. The pay was okay, but the benefits were amazing.
Correct.
And I really felt like I was like stepping off of a cliff, and I'm like, and here we are free falling. And so I'm crossing all the T's.
So throughout all of this, your husband, right? Because how long have you been married?
13 years.
13 years. And now he was always on board.
Always. We didn't do it like everything
from the get-go.
I was like, if I don't cost us money, can I do this crazy dream?
So you're telling me that guy that's behind the camera watching us right now, that I feel intimidated because his eyes are like right here.
And he was the chief of police.
And he was the chief of police.
Yeah.
John, just kidding. Yep. Thank you, John.
Makes you drive home. I know most of the sergeants on DPS.
Thank you. So now he's like, hey, let's go for it. Let's do this.
Yeah.
And you said that you wanted to kind of maybe the version of a mobile version, just hit the road and so on. When did that really became, here's the idea, all right, we can trademark, we can, get the name and all that, but there's still a big transition from just getting on some computer website and say, hey, this is my name, I trademarked this.
Yep.
What really happened that now you go like, oh crap, we're in this now?
So I made the decision when I filed the trademark, like everything that day.
That's it.
Like Weld Like A Girl was born on April 4th, 2017.
Wow.
Trademark website was up that day.
Damn.
Everything was like, I'm on it. And then in May, that month I looked for places locally to rent and went to a bunch of different places, and I found this really cool older gentleman that he said, once I started renting from him, he goes, when I found out you were a welder and that you were a woman, I knew I was going to have no trouble with you. And I was like, all right. So.
And this was also in this area where we are now.
4 doors actually from where we are sitting right now.
Okay, because you guys were already living in this area.
Yep.
Okay.
So I've lived here for a long time.
Gotcha. So now, how many years ago was that on that other building?
We've been in this building for almost 2.5. So I was 5 years in that building. And then 2.5
Gotcha.
years ago.
Was there a big difference other than size on what you were doing on that other building and here?
Well, we still offer welding and blacksmithing and stuff, but we're so limited because we had tiny little space, but we didn't have any area outside to store metal. And when it would just get stolen.
Gotcha.
So it was super. I know. I would watch on my camera outside, like people like, okay, I guess you need it more than me. That's how I had to.
Where was the police during this whole thing?
Non-injury. Yeah, they don't respond to that kind of thing. So.
Sorry, John. Yep.
But yeah, so it was. We just have so much more we can offer, and we also we had blacksmithing there, but we also have a power hammer here. We just have a lot more that we can do.
Now, how long before was there a gap once 2017, like you said, you start, then the idea is to have people here paying for a service to learn something. Then COVID comes, boom. And was there any fear, any doubts like, oh, damn, here we are 2 years after we made it all happen, and now we can't get anyone inside the building?
Right. Well, we're fortunate in Arizona. So I started teaching classes. My first official class in that space was August 16th of 2017.
How the hell you remember these dates? You're making me look stupid.
Because that was a big deal. It was a big, because I took this huge risk. I mean, oh my gosh. And I say, because August 16th, I remember it specifically because I waited so long for my business license to be approved. But then also this year, on the anniversary of it, I was awarded an award from the National Association of Women in Construction, the Carol Kuker. It's the Women in Construction Visionary Award.
Congratulations.
Yes, thank
Congratulations.
you. So I thought it was so cool. They flew me to Houston. And
yeah.
I'm like, this is the anniversary of our first class. Yeah.
That is pretty cool.
So I did remember. But
gotcha. So then COVID
the cool thing though, Frank, is the way I did it and the way I did it here. And it just happened because the rafters were 24 inches on center.
Oh.
I hung the curtains. When you were standing at my booth, you were 6 feet apart from the next person.
Without even knowing.
Like in 2017,
it was
meant
to be.
And we did have a mass exodus of winter visitors leaving because, of course, at the beginning of COVID, no one knew. But in Arizona, we didn't have a mask mandate for very long. Yeah. And we definitely, we lost a lot the business.
Yeah,
we couldn't operate,
of course,
for whenever the
people were just scared regardless. Yeah.
And no one knew anything.
Exactly.
So that was legit. Like the early terror,
fear was there.
I totally get that. We still did teach like private customers. People continued with lessons.
Gotcha.
There were children of Marine Corps officers and Border Patrol agent children that were like, we are not letting our kids sit at home on their iPads. So like they still would come in, and so, but not enough to maintain a business. But I'm a CWI. I'm a certified welding inspector, and so
did you become a CWI while you were working for
Miller? Yeah.
Miller, gotcha.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Was that a requirement for them, or you just? Or they
No.
kind of said, it'd be nice if you got one.
No. As you might imagine, working as the only female trainer at the time, going to places like Montana and Idaho, my western region.
Yeah.
Some of those northern states were like, not really sure women belong here. So there were some questions, and every once in a while my boss at Miller would get a call or an email saying, Shanen doesn't know how to weld. I'm like, why would they hire you if you don't know what you're
Yeah.
doing, right? Like, come on. So we had to go through some weld tests and things like that, and that's fine. And finally, HR said, what do you think would make this easier? And I said, honestly, if I could get my CWI,
Yeah.
I feel like this nonsense would end.
Yeah, correct.
And so they couldn't just require it for me, so they offered the training department and they offered some of the salespeople.
Gotcha.
So there were 21 of us. I was the only chick in the room. And when I signed my signature the first time on the bottom of my email, CWI/CWE, the nonsense stopped
Really?
that day.
That is just, that's
Immediately.
nuts.
Because
I know.
some of the
It's
people,
a status. It's a.
but some of the people that were criticizing me didn't pass the test. Oh, now I can't really give you crap.
Oh, snap.
Yeah,
Yep.
exactly.
Let me
So-
change my tune.
Yep.
That happens everywhere,
But
guys.
that-
Well,
but-
why are we so egocentrical? Come on, guys. Just chill, relax.
But honestly, getting that CWI, not just like street cred for me, but during COVID, when I wasn't able to teach the volume of classes that I would normally be able to, I could do inspection work, or I could
Yep.
certify, qualify welders, and so that would allow us
Yeah.
to stay afloat.
Got it.
And then I started. There's a fantastic principal that I was working with in our town. He was principal for the charter high school that was associated with the juvenile courts,
Okay.
and he said, "Look, I can do what I want during COVID. We just have to do as long as the board said." And so
Gotcha.
we said, all right, we're going to start coming to your shop twice a week with the high school kids, and in the mornings, and we have to just follow the safety rules. I said, no problem. And my safety rule in Arizona is when your welding helmet comes down, your mask comes down, because I don't want you passing out in my shop.
Correct.
And it was August, and
Yep.
so I'm like, I'm not kidding about this. If you have to have the mask on, you must take that down.
Yeah.
I'll disinfect the crap out of everything, but like you can't pass out in here and crack
Yeah.
your head on metal. So the partnership with charter high schools started with that because of this visionary principal, and
That is
we've been
cool.
talking about it for years, and we just made it happen during COVID because
Good for you.
everyone
So
else was at home, and they were building sculptures. They built a giant sculpture that is up at a state park.
Oh, really?
A couple of miles from here. It's the Colorado River State Historic Park, and it is I think it's 11 feet long, and it's 6 inches deep, and it's the former font for the visitor center, and it's UMA, and you stand there, and you are the Y in Yuma.
Oh, I see. Oh, that is pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
How many students you think you've had through the school in the lab?
Well, I don't remember. I had to write it down for something recently.
Okay.
But between training at Miller and here, and then I also teach a couple classes at the college, sometimes reluctantly. It's been thousands of people.
Really?
Just thousands.
Really?
Yeah.
Now where you are versus where you started, a few years back, do you think that the growth has been there gradually? Do you think you had a boom, or do you think that you still have so much more to go?
I definitely think that we have made steps.
Okay.
We haven't hit the boom that we want.
Okay.
Because we have this amazing space.
Correct.
And we've had a grant from Airgas, which has given us a bandsaw and a fab table, and
Gotcha.
that has helped. And then getting the power hammer has changed things. We're going to start working with some Damascus. I have a 15-year-old intern. He's been taking private lessons with me since he was 10.
Wow.
He wants to be a bladesmith, and so his job is to be in charge of the power hammer. Like he had to
Got it.
read the instructions and watch the videos and all that.
Of course.
And then, so this winter when it cools off a little bit, we're going to start looking at some Damascus. I mean, why not?
Why not? Why not?
The answer is always no if you never ask.
There you go. I like that. So knowing now that you say that, hey, we haven't hit the boom that we really wish, and it's only a matter of time, I'm sure. What exactly is the end goal? What is your big vision? This is, once this happens, I know we made it. What is that goal?
Well, right now we operate as a working fabrication shop.
Okay.
So the students work on projects that are real projects.
Gotcha.
I can't promise, when someone says, hey, can you fab this for me?
Yeah.
I say, we can, pretty much, I mean, if you're a fabricator, you can make just about anything.
Correct.
Just how much time and how much money,
Yep.
do you have available to you? And so I say, what's your deadline? And so when your deadline is next week, I am not your girl.
Got it.
Because I don't know, if I'm working with charter high school students, I don't know who's going to show up to school.
Correct.
And a 325-pound of quarter-inch sheet plate, I cannot lift myself. Although I am strong, I cannot do that. So we're limited by that a little bit.
Got it.
But really, I see already some of the end goal coming to fruition. I see the women in their 80s who have never held a power tool, that when they get to use a grinder or a welder in my shop, and they're just ecstatic. The plasma cutter, like they're like, whoa, right, mind blown.
I was always told no,
Right.
I could never touch that, and not,
They're so empowered, right? So that's my main thing. That was my heart to begin with. But then, because of the partnership with the schools, we've actually had 2 people graduate from pipe welding school this past spring.
That is pretty
So
cool.
like we actually have people out in the industry too.
Got
and
it.
I've got a number of students that either are currently or have been my students here, and they're taking college classes. And so, we're slowly trying to fill that skilled trades
Got
gap.
it.
And honestly, Frank, I think, you and I had talked about the skilled trades gap a lot, but I didn't expect to be helping that, but accidentally.
Gotcha.
And now I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so cool.
Yep.
So here's a cool thing, and I don't know if you know this about us, but we have a tiny little second grade class that comes over from AmeriSchools, which is another charter.
Okay.
There's second graders. There's 22 second graders. They're tiny people.
Yeah.
They're 7 and 8 years old. They can't wait to come to welding because they've done it before. And so their teacher and I were talking, and they walk. They're second graders. They still behave. They still
Of
hold
course,
the little
yeah.
rope. They they're so awesome. When it's not their turn yet to weld, they like wait in line to play poly pong over there. Like they're so cool. So when last year when they came over to weld, Mike Krupnicki, the president of American Welding Society, was here. He came to visit. We were so excited.
we
were so excited. And then they wanted to do it again. And so the teacher said, well, how much would it cost? And I said, how about we do this? How about we have you guys do a fundraiser for the Humane Society, and then whatever you raise, that will go to the Humane Society, and that will be like kind of payment, right?
Yeah.
Well, how cool is this? Tom Leinert, former AWS president, was going to be in town that week, and he matched their $500 that they made.
That is so cool.
Yeah, so they got to weld again. So
that's so cool.
So this is what the end goal.
Well, that's sparking that next generation.
Right. The end goal is like, how do we get kids excited about the trades?
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like with older people that have always wanted to make cool stuff, that's awesome, and that makes my heart feel full. But with kids,
but that has an expiration time.
Yes, it does. And you know what? Kids don't know what they don't know. Well, none of us do, right? They've now seen welding. They've done it. Now they ask questions about what kind of gas is connected to that. What else can we do? Can we see plasma?
Yeah.
One of my really big goals is to get a CNC mill, like one of the small.
Oh, the small ones. Yeah.
Ones
It's like 48 by 48, whatever. Yeah.
Take that and take bars of soap, cut them in half, and have the kids come in and do
design little things.
They do a CNC mill, they do plasma, they do welding. I want them to have kind of like a round robin coming through, just to have their
minds blown.
Yeah, minds blown, minds open. I just think that would be so cool. That's what I need to raise money for. I need to make money so that I can get the cool toys so I can show the kids.
I know that, and that's how you're gonna connect that crowd, because it's all about wowing those kids. And if you don't make it exciting for them, they get bored. Whatever. I'm just gonna go back to my iPad. Yep. Now you're going to FabTech coming up, right, in Orlando?
Hopefully.
Yeah. Well, hopefully. I know. I'm from Florida, so we'll see what happens. How many times have you gone to FabTech?
I think, let's see. Went to Chicago once, the first year I was at Miller. Then I've been to Vegas once or twice, and then I went to Chicago last year. So I've, and I went to Atlanta one time. Yeah, so probably 6 times.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
What do you get out of a show like that?
Honestly, the first thing that popped in my mind.
I think
it's the connection.
Yeah.
It's the family.
I know.
In welding, we're family.
Yeah.
And it takes you a long time to break in.
Correct.
But once you're in there, it just feels like a
you're
family
one of us.
reunion, and I can't wait to go back and see my friends and the people that I know get it.
Yeah.
And so there's that connection is the number one.
Gotcha.
Number two is I'm on 3 committees for the American Welding Society.
Correct.
And even though I don't have to go to the board meeting, I do want to go because I want to understand how everything fits in.
Of course.
It makes me a better board member. I mean, committee member.
Everything.
And then the other thing is, oh my God, I want to see like the lasers that are the size of this building. Right?
I know.
Like there's so much cool stuff.
I know.
I'll never be able to afford it. And I'm very honest because like.
Yeah.
I don't want this poor guy. He's been there all day saying the same spiel over and over. I walk up when I'm looking into the really cool tools and I'm like, I'm not your customer. I'm just going to tell you right now.
Yep.
If you want to tell me what this is.
I'm just a wild person
Yep,
right now.
Yep. If you want to explain things, but if you want to just like rest your throat, take a sip of water,
Yep.
like I'm cool with it. I'm just going to watch and see how awesome that is. It's like, it's cutting crazy things and it's folding it. And I'm like, man, that is amazing.
Yeah, it
I
is.
love learning about the technology, even if I couldn't necessarily have it here.
Got it.
But I also can then go back and either the college students or the people that I'm working with here, I can be like, you know what, you guys, like this, there's so much more.
It is, and that's a perfect example. But the relationship part, it's always what I've always said. You know, you can even YouTube machines and do this and do that, but it's this right here and those connections that you can just grab the phone and just say, hey, Mike, hey, Shannon, hey, Frank, how the hell do you do this? Because I have no clue.
Exactly.
Now you can actually do and make those calls, right?
Exactly.
For sure. How much traveling? Because I know I saw you at the Woodlands.
Yep, the Welding Summit.
The Welding Summit.
Yep.
Fab Tech now, of course. Do you do any other shows? Or any other events that you travel to?
So I work with Project MFG,
Okay.
Project Manufacturing, and they are funded by the Department of Defense.
Okay.
So it depends on the year. Last year I traveled, I did all of the maritime competitions as their lead judge. And I've done the national. If you
Maritime
look at,
West or East?
Well, they are only doing East right now. So I've been
Okay.
to Pascagoula. I know how to spell it too. I know where it is and I know how to spell it.
That makes one of us.
Yeah. It's near Biloxi.
Okay.
But I've been up to Groton in Connecticut and Electric Boat out in Rhode Island. So
Nice.
like
Gotcha.
Newport News.
Okay.
So I did a lot of East Coast stuff. This year we're actually with Project MFG. They wanted me to do something different.
Okay.
They said, they asked me a question that was, I thought, a really good one. One of my favorite people at Project MFG, Lee Gazzano, forget about it. He asked me, what do you think of these competitions? And I said, they're fantastic. You know, you're putting your money where your mouth is.
Got it.
You're giving, skills is fantastic, but you get a medal.
Correct.
Project MFG, you get money. Like the machining
Yeah.
and welding competition together, the national level, they get $100,000.
Whoa.
They get $50,000 for their school and then $50,000 for the 3 or 4 team members to divide up however they want. It's not for scholarship. It's
Wow.
for you go buy something.
So
Go buy
that
a
guy
new
can
jelly.
actually now open his own rig, buy the truck, do the whole thing, and just
Yep.
I'm going to hit the road.
Exactly. So and they tell me like, oh, what do you think about this? Like, which machine should I buy and that kind of stuff. So. So there's some real teeth behind Project MFG. So they're elevating the trades, but they're also showing like you can make a really good living.
Yeah.
And so Lee said, what do you think about this? And I said, they're great. But the problem is the only people that are here are the people that already have welding departments. The schools that have welding departments, either high schools or colleges.
Yep.
And he said, well, all right, well, bring it. What you got, kid? And I said, first of all, anyone who calls me kid, I totally don't take offense to that. I'm going to work that as long as I possibly
Right,
can.
yeah,
if I have
yeah,
white
yeah.
hair and some 80-year-old man says kid, I'm like, yes.
Yes.
But he said, well, what do you think?
How can we? Yeah.
I said there were 11,000 homeschooled students in the state of Arizona alone.
Wow.
They don't have CTE programs. He's like, all right, I want a competition at your shop. So we did. Unfortunately, the first year he made me do it in June.
Oh, great.
Yeah, right. Last year we did it in January, which is significantly
Okay.
better. So I will. They'll travel to me on that one, but I'll be traveling for Project MFG and a couple of the homeschool events. We're going to kind of start expanding that in the United States, and then I always teach one of my favorite camps up in Butte College in Oroville, California.
Yeah.
And it's a Miller camp that I work with my work brothers from Miller.
Okay.
My Northern California boys, as we usually call them, and that is it's in January. It's a 1-week camp for high school kids, and
Cool.
I just really
And that's
love
all
that.
part of MFG too.
No, that's a Miller camp.
Oh, gotcha. That's
That's Miller sponsored, but it's
Still,
it's like a
it-
reunion
it's-
again.
got it.
I work with some of my really good friends.
That is so cool. I love when people are trying to connect, because we all talk about the new generation. How are we gonna bring them up and so on. But one thing is to talk about. The other thing is to really do something and really have them here and hands-on and all that. But Shannon, one of the things that I want to do, which is very organic, I'm going to grab my camera now, and we're going to walk around a little.
Cool.
And I'm just going to ask you whatever comes to mind.
I'm just going to say one thing about that connection. So as a result of working that camp up at Butte College, I wasn't working for Miller. I was working for Miller when I was doing the camp. And then when I left Miller, I still was invited to come back.
Oh, that's so...
Because they said, are you willing? And I was like, heck yeah. I mean, I believe in the mission of the camp for kids, but I also want to be working with my work brothers. And Alan Lindgren, who isn't working for Miller, but he's a super cool dude.
Yeah.
And he is my go-to when I have a stainless steel question.
Nice.
Or an oxy-fuel question, if it's something really high level.
It's those relationships.
Right. And if it's a new machine from Miller that I haven't been training for Miller for a couple of years, so now I'll call Willie and I'm like, hey, how do I find the hidden menu on this? Yeah, and then they'll be like, hey, we're going to be coming through Yuma area. I'm like, heck yeah, come on down. Let's go grab something to eat. So but having that person on speed dial, I think, is really important. And then you have become, and I have become that person on someone else's speed dial.
That, you got to pass the torch forward. You got to pay it forward, and this is exactly what we're trying to do. This is exactly what Torch Tales it's all about. It's just things. You can be a business owner. You can be the welding teacher. You can be in sales. You can be an engineer, and you can metal fab. You can combine all of that, and at the end of the day, it's only going to make you better, and you can actually pay it forward too. So let's take a little walk.
Okay.
All right.
Let's go.
So this is the organic part where I do this. But here's how we're going to take the walk. We're going to start outside.
All right. Awesome.
Because I want people to see the building too.
Okay.
So as I do this,
all right.
Yoa's going to be behind me.
All right.
So this is her school. I'll show you this. All right. So was this a house before, or what was this?
This is so cool. This is a World War II Quonset hut. This is one of the original Quonset huts.
Really?
Yes, and General Patton was in one of them before they were moved to this space over here. And they're not serial numbered, so I don't know which one it is. So clearly it was ours.
Of course it is.
Yeah,
of course
he was totally in this building.
But that is...
It's a World War II Quonset hut.
That is so cool. So now let's go inside.
Okay. All right.
All right, so yeah, you got to tell me what that is.
This is our poly pong table. So at a camp that I teach at, Astro Camp in Idlewild, California, it's super fun. I get to teach welding to 12 to 17-year-olds. I love it. They have poly pong tables all over the place, and I'm like, what the heck is that? It's kind of a combination of ping pong and foursquare. But the reason that I bought this is in my old shop. Okay, first of all, Frank, we've talked about you got to make life fun.
100%.
You have to have tables when you're trying to teach, but I didn't want regular tables. It's boring. So a poly pong table is truncated, and 4 people can play at one time. How cool.
This is something that I've never seen, and there you go. It's never too late to learn something.
No.
I've never seen this before.
And I pretty much suck at ping pong, so I play, if the ball is moving, it doesn't matter if it's on the other side of the classroom, as long as it's moving, we play.
All right.
Okay.
Awesome.
We have examples of stuff that, classes that we offer. So like we have yard art classes, and we have, just all kinds of cool stuff. There's so many different things. I can't even explain, but...
So all of these have been made by students at some point, and classes you've had?
Not all
or
of
have
it.
You made some of it?
I've made some of it as examples, but a lot of it has been made by students. And then I'm going to walk this way so I don't trip over your cables. The Project MFG project that we did. Yep. So the kids had a mentor. That one's from Astro Camp.
Gotcha.
This is so cool. This is metal smithing. These move.
Oh, cool.
All the planets move. They got to Astro Camp. They got to use brazing.
That is so
welding, blacksmithing.
Oh, this is the doghouse that you were saying that everyone got to keep as well, right?
So teams of 3 got they got a mentor, and in the morning they learned about welding, cutting, and blueprint reading. And then in the afternoon they got the blueprint, and the mentors had to step back, and the kids had to figure out how to do this. And so then we had a local artist, Millie Verdugo, made a dog for each house, which is super cute. And so the dogs were the judges. So yeah,
that is cool.
We do blacksmithing classes. We do stuff with horseshoes. We do a lot of reclaimed metal. Most
cool.
Everything is we try to reuse and recycle and upcycle, I guess is the bougie term to say.
Very cool. Yeah, don't hide. You already came out on camera. It's all good.
So this is one of our interns, William.
Yeah, hi William. Good.
And William's claim to fame, he is very to use all of the clamps.
Oh,
All of the clamps.
okay.
We have 12 booths. We have MIG, TIG, stick, and flux core at all of the booths. And we have a different Dr. Seuss quote in every booth.
I love that. I was just looking at that. Yep.
And that's the the fun part, that wellness part that I always wanted to
Tie it
maintain.
all together. Yeah.
I have had people in here who have said, I have wanted to learn how to weld my entire life. And they would just be so overwhelmed with the fact that they can, they're empowered.
That's it. That's it.
And they don't have to bring anything. We say jeans and closed-toe shoes, and then we have all of the gear.
You gotta look at these guys.
This one used to be a man's...
Look at that. It looks almost like something you hang out of your windshield.
I know. This used to be a man's XL, and my friend Amanda Rowe, who used to work for Miller too, she is also a seamstress, and so she made that one, and she's made a couple of them that were a man's XL. But most
none of those would fit me, just to put that out there.
We have
All
we have that one all the way up to a man's 5XL.
Well,
and then,
hopefully I don't get to that, but
right?
yeah.
And then we have all of the helmets and jackets and everything that people need. So people don't have to provide any of their own equipment.
They just got to show up.
They just got to register for a class and show up. And the cool thing is, so at the college now, where they will recommend, if you don't, go take a class at Weld Like A Girl, because you don't have to buy anything, all the gear. And then if people are taking a lot of classes here, I'm like, hey, you're really into this. Why not go over to the college?
That is so cool.
And then when they go to do their cert class, I'll be the CWI that makes them cry or smile.
So usually how I call these guys, that's just inventory.
Yeah, exactly.
That's just your imagination at will.
This is like unlimited.
Yeah.
Unlimited access.
It's like something comes up in your mind, just come grab it. Start building. Oh, actually, I saw them once.
They're made in Canada. Made in America is a really big thing for me. Made in America,
cool.
But they're retractable, and we call these the French fries. But they can be moved around. So these two are stationary, but I have one that can be moved anywhere, and it's so handy. We plan to have a CNC table at some point in the near future.
All right. So for those of you that watch this episode at some point, Weld Like A Girl, they're always willing to get help. All right, so if you want to help the future generation, start with places like this. And you can reach out, and definitely, trust me, there's always a list of things that every school needs, and why not start here? So help.
Thank you.
Yep.
So we've got this really cool space out here. We do blacksmithing, and then our power hammer is currently, it looks very beastie with that chain on it.
It's that right there, guys. All right.
It is also made in America.
There you go.
It is.
I love that behind you, for sure.
Ken's custom iron.
Yep.
And it's a 75-pound power hammer. And
you guys know how that works. You guys come in here, just press, and you can change the speed.
And then it's just compressed air paper.
There's the logo again, guys. That's her, by the way. That's her. That face, it's that.
Yeah, here we go. You were on the other side, so they didn't get to see the blue and the blue up there. Yeah.
Same thing. I don't have. Yeah.
We can change that. I got 15 minutes. I can change that.
Not happening. Not happening. This is John, by the way. He had to have a cameo. Come on. Can't leave the episode, huh?
Can I get my sag?
Yes, you will.
Thank you.
Yes, you will. No, Shanen, I think it's what you're doing here is so cool on the approach that you're having on just the level and how you are thinking outside the box on reaching from a 5-7-year-old to an 80-year-old lady. That's just what's amazing. For you, the sky's the limit, and there's no in between. So that's what it makes me happy to see that, because a lot of people are just focusing on one single area, one aspect. All right, like, hey, the 18 to 25, it's the only thing. Like, yeah, that's great. That is the generation, and that's where we need to also work on. But why forget the rest, right?
We work with Special Olympians.
Oh, that is so cool.
We work with veterans. We work with all kinds of people.
That is so cool.
If we have a community sculpture, we had one for the Fallen Officer Memorial.
Yeah.
To honor one of the officers that created was instrumental in creating the park.
Yeah.
That part of the park.
Gotcha.
We had this tree that we made out of rebar. We invited the community. Here are the days that we're going to be building, and people could come in with zero experience. They didn't have to pay to come in. We had the torches out here bending kind of curly cues and rebar, and stick welding because we were out here and it was tall, and people were making a mess with stick, and that's okay because, you know, if it was bad, we ground it out when they left, and we fixed it, but they got to do it. And some of the welds were fantastic.
Shanen, just to close this episode, because we got to go have dinner, because I'm you know, it's.
He's getting hangry.
I keep this look a certain for a reason. If you had to go back to that 25-year-old girl, 21, what would your advice be, knowing what you know now? It's like, hey, Shanen, what would be that advice?
Wow. I think this is the first hard one that you've asked me.
Save it for last, guys. This is how I, you know.
I don't know that I would have followed this advice, but this is the advice I would give someone right now.
Okay.
When they say, like, what should I do?
Yeah.
I tell them, get your degree, get your associate's degree in welding, or even massage therapy.
Okay.
Or nursing, because those three fields you can go anywhere in the United States.
Gotcha.
Obviously, I love welding.
Correct.
I don't mind massages, but, you know, I'm just saying. But get your associates in welding, and then make the decision if you're going to do anything else, because then you can pay your way through, and you're instantly employable.
That is true.
And then, you know, whether or not you can go on to become a welding engineer, you could go into welding sales, you can get your business. Like, there's so many things you can do. Your associate's degree is the starting point, and then if you don't like math, then maybe you don't go in the engineering route.
There you go.
But maybe you go and get your bachelor's degree, because I know a lot of the distributors do require that. But you can go into welding engineering, you can go into aerospace. There's so many cool things you could do.
For sure.
So I think if I'd realized the opportunities that were completely invisible to me, because like we said before, we don't know what we don't know. I'd never seen a weld, so how would I know I love it?
Yeah.
So if I could go back and change the course of my education, I wouldn't have student loan debt, because I would have been a welder first.
Yep.
That said, because of the butterfly effect, I would never change that, because then I wouldn't be standing right here with you.
There you go.
And I wouldn't be married to the wonderful man I'm married to, and I wouldn't have these cool interns, and I wouldn't get to, you know, weld with 7-year-olds that lose their minds about how exciting it is. So, yeah.
Well, thank you for sharing all of that, and well said. And guys, you know, it's such a pleasure to do what I do, travel and work for the company I work for, but at the end of the day, to have these experiences and have these moments with people that are just cool people in the industry, all right? Because I wouldn't want to talk to someone that was not a cool person. Let's just face it, you know, we don't connect with those people. And so to see Shanen, John, and really have this going on here in where most people would think it's kind of in the middle of nowhere. Everywhere. Or in the middle of everywhere. Actually, well said. That's, what do I know? But it's great. Weld Like A Girl, Shanen, CWI, CWE, a great advocate for the trade, for Skills USA, for MFG.
Yep, Project MFG.
MFG, and it's such an honor to be here. So I'm really honored, and thank you,
so much,
to have you.
I
so
really
thank you, and yeah. Guys, that sound was John, the husband, just because I gave her a hug. Oh well, whatever. So thank you again, guys. You know how this works. I'll see you somewhere else with somebody else, because if they keep saying yes, who am I to say no? All right, guys. See you on the next one.
Thank you.
Cool.